Oban and Marcus asked me if I could break down this roll a little bit better. So in this video, it might seem a little bit targeted, but I'm really giving advice to the people in this roll. We can see how Oban starts by creating a frame on the leg and how Marcus is easily able to pass. That's because angles beat frames. And when you're bent over trying to push on someone's leg like that, it's not also good because it's lowering your posture, meaning that you're going to be easier to attack. As you can see, Marcus is able to pass pretty easy here because Oban had his knee facing already down to the mat. Instead of doing that whole big movement like a forward shrimp, you can fight Marcus's hands and then just work to a better position instead of doing that whole motion and doing like 5 butt scoots. We can see how Oban's hips are already on the ground. This is what's going to make it so much easier for Marcus to pass, is because your hips are facing down. When your hips are elevated, you have more hip mobility, meaning that you can move. As your left hand is framing on Marcus's shoulder, he's technically able to spin around an armbar. You can see Marcus going for a Toriano pass, framing on the hips and moving to the side, going to north to south, and bottom north to south. You can always just go into a turtle. Even though it may put you in a really bad position, you can always just wrestler switch. Marcus goes to step in to sit down and get his guard. You put your leg over, meaning that Marcus is going to be able to trap his leg with yours. I skipped forward because Marcus and Oban were just chilling in guard position for a little bit. As we see, Oban goes for the overhook on Marcus's far lat, meaning Marcus is able to get an underhook and sit back down. When standing back up to guard pass, never just hop and slide into your knee, because they can always just place a knee shield like what is happening right now. When passing, you can always bait your opponents by putting on a submission and then trying to pass again. Oban created a lot of space on that transition after getting the underhook on the head and switching to mount, meaning Marcus was able to just get his leg underneath and pull Oban into his guard. Also, a big thing to never do is try to submit someone while you're in the bottom of their close guard or on top of their close guard. These are just neck cranks and your opponents will not like that you do this to them. You're trying to go for the submission from the bottom. Your posture is already broken, so Marcus is just able to get an over-under grip. Other thing not to do when your posture is already broken like this is putting your forearm on your opponent's trachea, especially in their close guard, because it also reveals your back to them and they're always able to just attack their back, which I'm pretty sure Marcus is trying to do. Go up after your posture is being broken. Marcus is able to swing over his leg and try to bite down on that triangle. This was a good escape by putting your knee inside of their hip line and then pulling your head out. Then you can just go to side control unless they have their knee shield back in, but you can always just pass after that if you control underneath their leg like a cradle. As Marcus frames with his right leg on your hip, it is a really good idea to just swing over like that, but maybe not a leg entanglement right away because there's so much space created where you might not get the tap with it. We can see how Oban is trying to go belly down and his hips are facing toward the ground. This makes it so Marcus can come up and try to take Oban's back. He didn't throw in his top hook first, so it made it hard for him to take Oban's back because Oban did a great job of keeping his back to the mat. So if you keep your back to the mat, it's much easier to escape back and not get RNC'd in the process.
Marcus, get your back to the mat.
You can see Oban unties his feet, making it so Marcus is able to walk his hips forward and get out of the back.
Yep.
See Oban push away on Marcus's knee. This is going to create more space for Marcus to get up and try to finish this guillotine. This is trying for a rolling anaconda, but he can't get it because Oban's legs are bridged up in the air and Marcus's legs are not bridged. So meaning he cannot complete the roll and he's not going to get the tap here. Marcus was trying to attack his own back take here off of that failed whatever that was. He throws his top hook over and he's able to just try to get back. Like what Oban does here is that he's not letting Marcus take his back and he's trying to get his back to the mat, which means he can just turn in and go into Marcus's guard. You would much rather be in someone else's guard than have your back taken and risk getting RNC'd. You have more of a chance of escaping guard than you do with back, because back control is one of the most dominant positions in jiu-jitsu, but then again so is guard, but it's also known as a neutral position as well. Oban's posture is broken pretty bad here, so this means Marcus can try and attack a guillotine, but since this is pretty late stage, all you have to do is just grip fight, and the guillotine will not be put on. Although attacking a submission from bottom guard seems like a good idea, but even here, the back will still be revealed of yours, so don't try to attack when being inside of someone's closed guard. And it's just kind of annoying for people to deal with if you do this, because when you're in a guard, you should always try to back out. You can see how Oban is trying to attack double hand on this Kimura, but in the end, it's just creating a low posture and pulling one arm in, one arm out kind of situation. This means you are vulnerable to triangle, and that's what's going to happen here. See Oban already starting on like side of his hip, grabbing Marcus's ankle. Yes, this is a good connection, but also it kind of leaves you vulnerable to attacks on the high side. So what I mean by that is like it's like a teeter-totter. If you have one of your hips down on the floor and the other one up, the one that's facing up, people are just going to be able to attack and slide through. When doing that forward shrimp, it creates a lot of space, but also a little bit harder to re-guard off of it because of how much space you've made. And going into a reverse guard, kind of like this situation, is a little bit weird because you still can't take the back off of it, but your ghost escape isn't going to work here to just try to go back to a guard. Instead, Oban should try to just go to a turtle, even though this puts him in a bad position, but it's still better than being trapped here and not knowing what to do. But you're just going to have to do a lot of hand fighting to get out of this position. Instead of having your arm over his head and trying to throw up a buggy, use it as a frame. So you should frame on inside of his hip and on the head, but not over his head trying to throw up a buggy. Even though this buggy does kind of look tight, but the arm isn't even in. So what Marcus can do is he's just able to slide his head out and he's able to go to north to south and attack your head again. It's kind of like pinning a snake. As we can see from breaking down this whole roll, we can see that they spend a lot of time in this north to south position. One thing we can do to eliminate it so this doesn't happen so much is trying to frame out and not do that big kind of forward shrimping motion and trying to use your strength. Go slow, be more technical, and think about what you're doing, and then you should be able to get out. Or just go right to turtle and then try to fight the hands off, because typically people will go for guillotines. But if you can just fight hands, that's good.